to go over a little bit of the lecture for next week, since we're not going to be here Monday. So, AAA stands for Authentication, Authorization, and Accounting. Yeah, did you not hear that? Okay, so no class on Monday. It's also an announcement on Blackboard. So with that, AAA stands for Authentication, Authorization, and Accounting. Authentication has to be done first before authorization and accounting. Okay, so you have to have access to a device before you can be authorized to do something on the device. And before I can track what you're doing, you got to be authenticated on the device. All right. Slide 6, check mark it, circle it, put a star there. There's stuff on the test in regards to those definitions. Okay, you can use AAA in one of two fashions. Either authentication locally with a local username, secret, or password that you put in there, or through some sort of exterior database that can be set up via a authentication service like TACACS or Radius, which we'll learn about. All right, so with this, we're going to do local authentication and I think one step in server-based authentication in homework this week. So authorization is basically saying, well, once I log into the device and I'm authenticated, what do I have privilege to do? So we talked about privilege levels last time. Privilege level 1 is user, kind of standard. You can do show commands and get into the device. That's about it. Privilege 15 means you can do anything. Privilege level 2 through 14, you can customize locally on the device. Going through authentication to an exterior server through Radius or TACACS means that you can set up all that privilege on that server. And anytime somebody logs in, they will have their authorization level checked via that server. Accounting. Now, accounting is very simple. Accounting is like a form of logging. So, accounting is not really done very much on box, but with an exterior service, Radius or TACACS server, anytime somebody does something, they put in a command, and a syslog is generated, that goes to the accounting server and it is tracked. It can be saved. So any command that a user runs, it gives a timestamp, who was logged in, who ran that command. Very, very, very helpful in large organizations where you have different tiers of engineers or sysadmins. Somebody goofs up, well, somebody better fess up to what they did, because, as I always like to say, logs don't lie. All right. So with that authorization, again, all right, we're going to get into configuring authentication first. So the first command that you need to know about AAA is AAA new dash model. This starts the AAA engine. You cannot do any other AAA command before that command is first run. So that's a test question, by the way. AAA new dash model. That's your first AAA command that you do. After that, you need to set up authentication. So we set up authentication. If we're doing it locally, we're going to set it up via the AAA authentication login default, local or local dash case. The difference is local dash case means your password is going to be case sensitive. That's the stronger way to do it. I'm sorry, your username is case sensitive. AAA local authentication attempts max fail. Base says, all right, with a maximum number of 10 attempts, if they fail to log in, we're locking out that user. All right. So to configure this locally, we also have to run a command on the local VTY ports to tell them that, hey, we're checking authentication via the AAA service. So on the VTY lines, we would run AAA authentication login, and then default a name that we give our group. Basically, if we make a AAA group. Okay, and then if we want to do other methods, we could chain them together. That's good because what happens if we set up AAA and all of a sudden we lose connectivity to our Radius or TACACS server? We won't be able to get in, will we? So if we do a Radius or TACACS service, we can then also say, hey, if that fails, look at the local database, the local usernames, and we can allow them to log in. So, in defining that list of authentication methods, use the AAA authentication login command on the VTY lines. So, the defined list of authentication methods must be first applied to specific interfaces or lines. Different method lists can be applied to different lines. So, if I have 5 VTY lines, I can do one for VTY line 0, a different one for VTY line 1, and so on. But typically, you see them all done the same way at once. Slide 14, really good. You'll see this again in Homer. So slide 14, slide 11, really good reference slides for the Homer. So look at how it is configured. All right, setting your maximum fails. Again, AAA local authentication attempts, max fail. To show your engine, show AAA local user lockout. That will show you if anybody is locked out. You guys should know how to add user accounts now. All right, server-based AAA. So server-based AAA is very similar to what we just talked about with user-based, except it's a couple additional steps. We've got to define the server, its IP address, and its pre-shared secret key, which is used for encryption. All right, they talk up their ACS server, one side down the other. You can do this on any type of infrastructure, Juniper, Cisco, HP, Palo Alto, doesn't matter. All right, you can use a third-party system, or you can use a authentication role in a Microsoft server, or you can use OpenRadius on a Linux box. Guess what? They all achieve the same thing. They all achieve the same thing. They're set up on the routers and switches and firewalls pretty much in the same fashion. Okay. So, with TACACS Plus and Radius, this is a good slide to kind of understand the differences between the two. What you really need to know is what transport protocol they use. Radius uses UDP, TACACS uses TCP. All right, they both have their strengths and weaknesses. Radius does a lot better accounting. TACACS Plus, not so much. So, check slide 22, circle it. You'll see a question there. All right, so then they go through the different types of authentication methods with TACACS and with Radius. Okay, so again, TACACS Plus being TCP based, it's really chatty. Back and forth from the router to the server. Radius, not so much. It's kind of fire and forget. They both have their strengths and their weaknesses. All right. TACACS Plus, more susceptible to session hijacks. Radius, more susceptible to replay attacks, as one example. Okay. Not that they don't have additional controls to mitigate those risks. All right, so with Radius authentication, you can see it's a lot less chatty than TACACS. Okay, Radius is used a lot for VoIP implementations. You have a lot of secure voice because it is UDP. Voice likes UDP much more than TCP. Okay, Cisco propaganda. All right, yeah, it fits into their whole secure network infrastructure. Yeah, sales material. Tyler, I don't care about that, right? This is what their ACS homepage looks like on their server. I'm gonna go through that. They all have a database backend, typically LDAP. You can tie the ACS server. One thing I do like about the ACS server, you can tie it to Microsoft Active Directory. So any change you make in a GPO, to a user, a group, that'll take effect immediately. Works really well if you have a lot of admins. Okay. So, server-based AAA authentication. So this is kind of the nuts and bolts of the second part of your homework this week. So setting up a TACAC server or Radius server, you use the server commands, TACAC-server, host, the IP address of the TACAC server, and whether it's going to be single connection or it's going to be multi-connection or dual connection. That's for if you have multiple TACAC servers running in a redundant environment. Then you have to set up a key. This is the key that is also set up on the TACAC server. Guess what? They have to match. Okay, this sets up symmetric encryption between the two devices. Radius server, same thing. Instead of TACAC-server, it's Radius-server. Slide 43, really great. Good to refer back to homework, especially that last line, AAA authentication login default group. Because we named our group TACAX Plus, we named a group Radius, and then last but not least, local. They highlight that for a reason, guys. CCP stuff, don't go over that. So, monitoring authentication traffic, you can use a debug command, debug AAA authentication, and depending on where you have syslogging or logging going to, if you have to have it going to the console, it'll tell you when somebody tries to log in, what their username was. It won't show the password, but it'll also say, it will also tell you what authentication mechanism that was used to authenticate that user.
Will tell you how many passwords they have.
Yes. Yes, it will. I believe it will. All right, authorization and accounting. So here we're going to go over again on the router, on the device side, how to set this up with the AAA commands. All right, slide 51 is really great because they kind of go over what you're going to need to know in the homework. Set up users, you know how to do. AAA new dash model, I went over that. You've already done the authentication. So, for the authorization, we are setting up a default to have executive privileges, all right, for group TACAX Plus. And then we're setting up also to have network privileges, basically to do configuration on interfaces, lines, etc. for group TACAX Plus as well. So we're basically saying, hey, this is what you're allowed to go in and, actually, excuse me, not network, that would be like routing protocols. So if you had authorization interface, or int, we would allow you to do interface commands. I believe that's how that works. All right. Accounting. All right. Same thing, instead of authorization, you can use accounting. Anytime anybody does any exec commands, starting or stopping a command or an interface, it's going to be recorded for that group TACAX Plus. All right. Same thing with network level commands. All right. So in summary, with TACAX Plus or with AAA, it's a more secure fashion to log or give access to critical infrastructure devices. That's the big takeaway here. You can also get very granular, a lot easier than with just straight privilege levels, to give specific admins or specific users rights to do commands on infrastructure devices. So that's your big takeaways here. Okay. Also understanding what radius is, TACAX is, the differences between the two, what transport protocol they use. All right. So always good to keep this kind of open and handy as you're going through your homework. So let's talk about homework here. All right. Now I know the topology looks pretty complicated. Actually looks very similar to what we had last week, doesn't it? But in this case, we only have a few steps. We only have 27 points, or actually 22 points, I believe. All right. So I'm going to skip over the test connectivity. I'm going to assume that that works. So we need to configure a local user on R1 called admin1 and give it a secret of admin1 PA55. So R1. Go to global configuration mode, username, admin1, secret, admin1 PA55. Okay. Configure local AAA authentication for console access on R1. So enable AAA on R1 and configure AAA authentication for console logins to use the local database. All right, so first command we got to do, AAA new dash model. And then to set up that authentication, AAA authentication. Login, default, local. Then we have to go set it up on the console line. Line con 0. Login, authentication, default. I believe that will do it. I'll check your work. I did something right. So I did authentication command 2 correct. Got a new model in there. Method list name for the console line, so I got the console line right. I did the user name correct. So I got this one is tied to these VTY lines. So we'll go ahead and finish that up real quick. So configure a named list called telnet-login to authenticate logins using AAA. And then configure your VTY lines as well. So again on R1. Yeah. So exit out of that, and it's going to be another AAA authentication command. So now we got to make a group called telnet-login. It's going to be another login. This time, telnet-login. Local. And then our VTY lines, we've got to tie that to that. So line VTY 04. Login, authentication, telnet -login. And then they want you to verify the telnet configuration from PCA to R1. You don't have to do that. You can do that, you should do that, but it doesn't count for R1. All right. Wow. R1's done. Questions so far? Yeah. What?
I wasn't able to keep up with you because I'm unable to find the password to log into R1.
Cisco ENPA55. It doesn't change from homework to homework. So, look at
I got
right
it.
here.
Just above part 1. There.
That's for the admin one.
Yeah, I've got it right there. Yep, thank you.
No problem. Okay. Part 2. Configure local AAA authentication on VTY lines. Oh, we did that one. Sorry. Part 3. Configure server-based AAA authentication using TACACS on R2. Okay. So, done with R1. Let's go to R2. So enable password Cisco ENPA55 and go to global configuration mode. All right, so here for backup purposes, configure a local username admin2 with secret password admin2 PA55. So username admin2 secret admin2 PA55. Okay. Select the TACACS plus server, and from the services tab, click AAA. Notice that there is a network configuration for R2 and a user set up for admin2. So you can test this later. Here's our TACACS server, services tab. AAA. There's our R2 that sets up our service for R2. Okay, and there's our user admin2 and our admin2 PA55 password. That's what it's going to check. Okay. Next, enable TACACS server IP address and secret key on R2. So, what's the secret key? So it's TACACS PA55. TACACS PA55. And you can check that on the TACACS server. So, to set that up, TACACS-server, key. Oh wait, we gotta set the TACACS server up first, no? TACACS server, host, and then the IP address of the TACAC server, which is 192.168.2.2. One 192.168.2.2. And then TACAX server key, and key for TACAX server is TACAX PA55. Okay. So configure AAA login authentication for console access to R2. Enable AAA on R2 and configure all logins to authenticate using TACAX, and if not available, the local database. So here's where it gets a little bit tricky. And remember, I said kind of keep that one slide in mind that had that highlighted portion. Okay? Very, very, very similar here. All right? So AAA authentication, login, default, group, TACAX plus. We're not doing radius on R2. So it's going to be then just local or local case. So AAA authentication, login, default, group. Didn't tell me exactly what group name I'm supposed to use. Hold on, let me check that. They're really particular about that. I think this is going to be TACAX plus. Alright, and then local. So AAA authentication, login, default, group, TACAX plus, and if that fails, revert to the local database. Oops. Oh, what did I not do on R2? What did I not do? What did I say you have to do first? Huh? AAA what? New model, correct. Very good, very good, very good. Alright, now I should be able to do AAA authentication, login, default, group, TACAX plus, local. And I can't. Okay. Configure AAA authentication for console. Log in to use the default AAA authentication method. Okay. So on R2, go to the console line, con 0. Alright. Log in. Login, authentication, default. And then they just want you to verify. Check our results here so far. See where we're at. See if I goofed up anywhere. No, looks like I got it all. 16 points. Now I just have to do this on R3. Which is part 4. Okay. So we're done with R2. And we're done with the TACAX server. I'm going to bring up the radius server because the radius server is kind of has the same thing. So under AAA there, we're going to see R3's IP address, its service type, its key radius PA55, and admin3 and admin3's password. So also going to grab part 3. Enable password Cisco ENTA55. Configuration mode. Alright, what's first? Oh, we gotta make admin 3. So user username admin3 secret admin3 PA55. Select your server, click on AAA tab. You did that already, you saw that. Configure AAA radius server IP address and a secret key. So AAA, radius server, host, the host of the radius server. Radius servers 192.168.32. Okay. Radius server key is radius BA55. If I spell radius, did I spell radius right? Okay. If you fat finger a password, it will not give you credit. So if you don't get a check mark and you have it on one of the commands that you're looking at for a password, double check that you typed in the password correctly. Okay. That's the radius and secret key. I've got to do AAA new model. Then my authentication to authenticate using AAA radius server and not available local database. So very similar to what we did before here. AAA authentication, login, default, group, radius, local. AAA authentication, login, default, group, radius, local. Configure AAA authentication for console login to use the default authentication method. Line on 0. Login, authentication, default. And then last but not least, I believe is your BTY lines. AAA authentication for, oh, maybe it didn't ask for the BTY lines. All right, let's see how far along we are. Oh, no, we're done. No VTY lines on our tool. Okay, but everything that you need command-wise